Recording.
Morning. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Executive Committee Tuesday, December 8th, 2020 at 9 a.m. Roll call.
Dick Pufall,
Excused absence.
Mike Berlin,
Here.
Gary Mertig,
Here.
Bill Metzinger.
Here.
Bill, you need to get closer to the microphone. Martin Vitek.
Yes, here. Okay. We need a motion to approve the agenda. I move we approve the agenda. Motion.
I will second it.
Okay, motion by Marty, seconded by Bill. Any questions, corrections, additions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Public comments. No one's in the room. So we will move on to approval of the executive meeting minutes from October 20th, 2020.
I'll support that motion. Berlin.
Yep, motion by Mike,
I'll second it.
second by Bill. Any questions, changes, corrections? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Discussion and possible action on records retention policy.
Okay, this packet here put before you, it's rather lengthy, it's 73 pages long, but the gist of this basically is we need to create a ordinance that codifies the records retention. So most things that we do in life at the county are guided by a 7-year statute of retention. If we want to retain things by a lesser period, and this includes everything from emails to records to everything else, we need to have a records retention codified in an ordinance. The steps to do this is basically we want to move this committee, we want to pass a resolution and recommend it to the full county board that we want to adopt the records retention schedule, as you can see in this document. After the county board approves that resolution, then it would come, we basically would send it down to the Historical Society, who would review it and approve it. And then it would come back, to us, and then we would pass an ordinance at the county level, basically codifying it, making basically a county law. So the first step in this is basically for this committee to recommend a resolution to the county board to adopt this schedule. And then we will send that to the State Archivist Wisconsin Historical Society with a couple forms that you see within this document. We've been working this came to our attention via our corp counsel, and Max Lindsay has pretty much been coordinating this type of procedure, and I fully support this. With that, I would seek a motion to recommend resolution R01 2021 1375 to the full county board for approval.
Commissioner Berlin makes that recommendation.
A motion by Mike,
I'll second it.
second by Marty. Any questions?
I have one.
Bill?
With this change now, how long are we going to have to keep the records?
Yeah. Yeah, so on some records, so if you go down through this packet, and this is why it's so long, you can see in here, it's like, expenditure reports and supporting documentation. If you look on the TV set there, basically 3 years, and the authority is vested in here. So some things will stay at 7 years. So you can see paternity files will stay at 7 years, but case files and litigation would be 3. Here's something from 2. This is all in the child support area. But so every department pretty much has their own area. Here's the county clerk. Here's the treasurer. Here's court records. Daily backups, 15 days, monthly backups, telephone records, district attorney. So every department is listed in here, and we obviously did not create this schedule. This schedule is adopted and put forth by the Wisconsin Historical Society, and it has been a kind of a perfunctory task for counties to adopt this. We just never have done it, and this solidifies and gives us authority if we want to retain records for a shorter period.
That answer your question?
That answered my question.
Okay. And then just a question, Clark, the signature from the county board chairperson on the 12th of January, will that date possibly change if we don't have a board meeting prior?
We're scheduled to have a county board meeting on January 12th.
Okay, great.
Yep, that's already scheduled.
Okay.
We have a couple other issues that are going to come before the county, and that would be our normally scheduled date. So I am scheduling that. That's a good point. I will let the county board know that.
Good, thank you. Okay, so motion's been made and seconded to recommend this resolution to the full county board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, county board handbook.
Okay. The executive committee changed some language in the county board handbook to reflect how resolutions are brought to the county board for adoption. A couple other changes were made to the handbook for county board consideration. This was forwarded and recommended to the county board on November 10th. They sent it back to the executive committee for further consideration. In your packet, you'll find a copy with the track change listed, ready for further edits. And so if we go through, you can see the things in the packet. They're printed off in red. The first page where it has the numbers, that will probably change because as you go through, as you know, when you edit things, sometimes they change a little bit. So those numbers will change and we'll just reflect that when we get to a final copy. I think, and then of course I updated all of the, we had a couple changes in the, on page 3 with all the addresses. And we had a couple edits on that, so I just reloaded everything in that again, brand new from Heather. And I think the first page that we had questions on from the county board was on page 12, the bottom page 12, number 18. The chair should attend meetings as directed by the board or delegate attendance to another board member. The board just wanted the committee to review that again. And I don't know if that's because some of them felt, you know, I guess you were at the meeting, you know, so some of them felt maybe that the board chair should attend the meetings that the board directs, so you don't have a board chair that doesn't do anything. I think the other parts of that discussion were it would increase costs because the county board chair, when he attends meetings, doesn't get a per diem. And if you basically assigned another county board member, that they would basically get a $50 per diem. So I think those are two of the considerations for you to deliberate on this particular issue.
Yeah, I need to say something on that issue. I don't believe we've ever had a problem in the past. I don't know what the concern really was because I've never been witness to where a county board chair doesn't have to attend every committee meeting, but other meetings where they would go on their own or with a group, I don't ever recall this being a problem. I think if it became a problem, we would take it up at that time. I like the way we had it. If the chair is supposed to go to a meeting and for some reason cannot, I don't understand the problem with assigning. It doesn't happen much. And I personally would like to take it right back to the full county board the way we had it. And that's just my opinion. Bill?
There was some members that were concerned that this
Bill,
would-
can you move the microphone closer to you? Thank you.
there was some members that were concerned that this was going to add additional expenses to the county. And that's why they questioned that part. But, you know, I know, I agree with what you had said, but I'm just saying that's why they asked to look into it. Now, I don't know if the finance committee had looked at that or not. I don't know if this is the committee, the only one looking at this right now before it goes to the board.
According to the handbook, the executive committee reviews the handbook at a minimum once every 2 years and presents it back to the board for consideration. So this is the only committee that would review the handbook.
Yeah, and again, I go back to my original statement. If it became a problem where we had a chair, whoever that should be, abusing the system or, you know, not attending meetings and somebody else getting paid to go, I think we would take care of it right away. I don't know of an example of where this has happened. So I understand the concern of what could happen, but if it hasn't happened, I don't know why we just don't go back and say, hey, if finance or executive or a county board supervisor says somebody's abusing the system, then we should take it up again.
Laura has her hand up.
Yeah, Laura?
I was one of the ones that complained. My concern is the cost with it, because there are so many committees that the chair could attend. I just think if somebody wants to go on their own because he can't go is one thing, but if, and I say he because it's he right now, but you know, but to say or delegate attendance to another board member, because it's not only the depending on what meeting it is, it's not only the per diem, it's also mileage, and it could be meals, and those add up. And as we're asking, you know, all our departments to cut expenses and some things that they really do need at this point, we need to make sure that we are going to hold everybody to that same expectation, because that could cause us to have more cost. I mean, yes, I get it. Nobody has done it so far. There's a lot of things that nobody has done so far, and we have rules inside there to make sure that we don't. So I just
Laura,
like a preemptive strike.
Yeah, and I understand that, Laura, but we need to differentiate between a committee meeting. There's nothing that says the county board chair has to go to a committee meeting. The forestry, the highways, they go a lot of times, and they have in the past and continue, but there's nothing that says they have to go to any of those meetings.
Oh,
They're
I know
going-
that.
So
The chair is a de facto member of every single one of the committees and can go anytime. So I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about, say, the board meeting for, I don't know, our economic development piece by Betsy. That's a spot that is held for the chair. And if he would delegate someone to go for that, that's something outside. I mean, committees, okay, but anybody can go to any of these meetings, including Northwest ZEP and things like that. We can all go to those meetings. It's just on our own cost. But
Right.
at this point, the chair is the one that's kind of paid the extra to make the extra effort to go to it. I don't want to, and like I said, I don't expect him to go to every single meeting. I'm pretty sure my words were, we don't want the chair running around like a chicken with his head cut off, because it's not realistic. But if there's something important, the chair should be there. And if it's not important enough, or if there's something that comes up, I can see us certain so many times, but I think to codify that it's okay to put that in there is okaying another cost. And like I said, it's totally not necessary at this point, because we don't expect him, the chair, to be at every single one of those meetings.
I agree with, I think what you're saying there about it. We don't want to make this so rigid that it's.
Bring your microphone a little bit closer, please. Thank you.
We don't want to make this so rigid that it's unworkable. So I think maybe if we put or may delegate attendance to another board member, to put some discretion in the chair's hands. Right, and maybe we say something about a committee meeting, because and again, I'll use those forestry, highway, the chair isn't required to be there. So maybe we say a required meeting that the chair needs to be, because those aren't required, even though they go to them. And then add that, you know, the chair should attend meetings as directed by the board. The board's not directing the chair to go to a committee meeting. Not at all. So maybe if we explain that better, if the chair's required to go to a meeting and needs to delegate, then we say may delegate. And if, like I say, if it becomes a problem, if we see all of a sudden in a month that the chair delegated somebody to go to 3 meetings and we're expected to pay for that, then we have a problem.
How would we even know about that?
Yeah.
You know, who's going to tell the rest of the county board or the executive committee or something? Shouldn't we have some committee, if he doesn't go to a meeting, that he has to notify them and get approval, or the finance or the executive, or, you know, if he knows he can't go to Madison on a certain day, you know, then if he brought it up to the committee and said, hey, I can't go to Madison because I'm going to be in the hospital during that time. You know, that's a legitimate reason. You know, what do you think of that? Because
But isn't that when the chairman delegates someone else to go in his place?
well, I guess because the question, Mike, was that if he keeps delegating, it's going to be more expenses to the county, because then they get paid mileage per diem, you know, possibly meals and stuff.
You know, I've heard that a number of times, that the additional expense, but the additional expense of $50 or $75 plus the travel and the meals, I look at that as so minute. It's not thousands and thousands of dollars. Personally, myself, I don't even think it's worth the discussion myself. You know, the cost factor. Well, like Gary had indicated, that we would nip that in the bud right up front. We would not let this thing go on for months and months and months.
Would the solution be to just leave it the way it was? The chair should attend meetings as directed by the board, period.
I have a question then.
Vote for that.
Which meetings do we direct him to go to? Because we already said in there that, I know this was a discussion in the previous edits on this, that we weren't going to direct him to go to any. It was going to be more left open. So how do we make check and balance on this if we just leave it should? And then right now, we don't know what meetings he goes to and which ones he should. So there is no check and balance for it then.
What if we delete 18 altogether? Just take it out. I mean, if our county administrator and our chair, if we can't trust them to go to meetings that they're supposed to go to, then as a board, we can take the action. Maybe just delete 18 altogether.
Yeah, this came from a recommendation, basically from some sample handbooks from WCA. And you are correct that basically it's you know, over the past, you know, 50 years, there probably has been some board chairs that just collect their salary and then do absolutely nothing. The board directs them to do something and they refuse to do something. And, you know, so everything you see in these things have an example that somebody did at some point, just like HR rules. So, you know, the question is, how would you know as a county board member or an executive committee if the chair wasn't functioning as the chair should? You know, and that, again, that would be the role of either me or the county clerk. We basically have started tracking unexcused absences to county board meetings and committee meetings, because in this document, as we adopted in May, 3 unexcused absences is a de facto resignation. You know, and we're working with people to make sure that they don't have that. We're calling people, we're trying to make sure they show up. But they're, you know, chair, yeah, you're right. It is he's not delegated to go to the committee meetings, but he is your representative for economic development. He's your representative Northwest Regional Planning. He's your representative that needs to vote and attend at the business meetings for Wisconsin County Associations. There's a couple things that by statute, the county board chair needs to attend to. And you can choose to, I mean, you're right. You either take it out and then address it at the time or just leave it in there like that. And Laura has her hand up again.
Go ahead, Laura.
And if the chair can't attend a meeting, shouldn't the vice chair be the one that is asked to go next? We do have a hierarchy of people at the top, and then we do have a second vice chair at this time too. I mean, that would seem to be, you're given those titles, wouldn't that seem to be the way to go first instead of just a random board member? But I do believe that should stay in, because as an expectation, we do expect the board chair to go to these meetings. Or delegate things to another board member kind of opens it up for other things, but I think the vice chair and the second vice chair at this point should be the ones that are approached to go to these other things, and then possibly somebody else if that's what it's going to be. But I do think we need the expectation in there.
You know, in this whole section that you're debating here, the title of this section, Article 4, Chairperson's Powers and Duties. And, you know, this is kind of like your mini job description. What do you expect out of the chairperson, so that when somebody, you know, throws their name or accepts the nomination to be the county board chair, there is some sort of, okay, here's what it involves. Maybe I don't have time for this type thing. So we just want to make sure people are aware that there is time associated with being a county board chairperson.
Is there a preference? Go ahead, Bill.
You know, I think Laura's got a good point. Or delegate attendance to the vice chair. You know, that maybe would solve it. You know, the vice chair, you know, should have some power, you know, but rather than just being a regular member. So I could see that being changed to, or delegate attendance to the vice chairperson.
I should like the word may in there.
Yeah, well, they could put that in there too. May delegate attendance to the vice chair.
Okay, so with Bill, what you're saying is you would like it to read, the chair should attend meetings as directed by the board, or
may delegate attendance to the vice chair person.
Okay.
What do you think of that, Marty?
Mike, do you have any concerns with that?
Well, no, I don't have a concern with that, but I guess what I'm doing is looking down the road. Are we looking for a justification of the chair, the vice chair, or delegate to attend this meeting? And by attending this meeting, is this individual going to come back and report to the county board and give a quick critique of what was accomplished, what was discussed, or you know, what's the key points of the meeting? Are we looking for justification for the chair, or is delegate to come back and report back to the county board? Or, you know, like right now, anybody going out to any of these meetings and stuff like that, it's their prerogative as an elected official to sit on these boards as ex officios. But by sitting on these boards as ex officios, they can make comments, they can make recommendations, they can be quiet. And I've done that myself. You know, I've sat in other meetings that I'm not on, but like say for instance the tribal ad hoc committee. at the last meeting I sat on that, and Chairman Wiggins was not in attendance, but I sat there and I think I did make one comment. I don't recall what it was, but I didn't claim that to the county board. That was on my time. I had time available in my schedule, in my daily schedule and stuff like that. I made time available for that. I wanted to see how this thing was going to go. How are they operating? Are they operating like the other county board committees and stuff like this? And pretty much so. And at any rate, I guess my point is are we looking for something to come back to the county board as a critique of the agenda that was discussed at that meeting, or is it okay? We attended another meeting down over here at Madison, blah blah blah, and nothing's being shared with the county board. What was the importance of attending that meeting? It's an elective thing. It's an elective delegation of a chairman or his delegate to attend that meeting. When I take a look at the agendas, such as this one, although I am on this committee, or any of the agendas that I would look at, stuff like that, and discussion, action, policy, retention records. Discussion, action, county board. Well, that retention was 70 plus pages. This county board thing, we've had this in front of the county board before, and they're sending it back to us to review and stuff like that. I would take a look at page.
Good. Thank you, Mike. Do we want to just, if we change 18 to say the chair should attend meetings as directed by the board or may delegate attendance to the vice chair, somewhere we could just say any committee meetings outside our normal committees that update should be given to the county board.
I could live with that.
Do you want to add lump number 19, and I'll just drop something in there, summary?
Right.
So traditionally, I know, especially when I was a city administrator, granted, I only had 5 people. Everybody was expected to say what meetings they attended and gave a brief summary of it. With 21 of you, it's hard, but in our county board meetings, we have a section for county board reports, county board supervisor reports. And, some people do that, but I think that'd be a perfect spot to drop that in for any of you to summarize an important meeting or something you went to.
How does out of the county sound? So that, let's say if the chairperson wanted to go to the highway department meeting and he didn't want to go or couldn't go, then he did delegate the vice chairperson to go, and then they would qualify for per diem. So if we said out of the county, if we added something on or delegate attendance out of the county to another board member, somehow or another add out of the county so that the vice chair isn't getting paid to go to a meeting in Ashland County. As far as, let's say, this committee meeting. Let's say if Gary was not on the executive committee and, Dick said, well, okay, Gary, you go to this committee meeting. Well, he has to come up from Butternut, that's, so if we added something like out of the county, that he delegate something out of the county attendance.
Yeah, and actually the chair shouldn't be delegating anyone to go to a committee meeting in the county, because here's a good example. Dick is excused today. He called me. I'm on the committee, but say I wasn't. And he said, Gary, could you go? Really, there's no reason for Gary to be here. If I want to come, like the audience members are in attendance. But yeah, so committee meetings, I don't think we have a problem, because the chair isn't required to be here. So I don't want him or her delegating that to somebody and thinking they're going to get paid, because they're not required to be here. But you're right.
Yeah, if you nail it down and say out of the county, or, some kind of wording like that, then there wouldn't be any question.
Well, but your section 18 here says the chair should attend meetings as directed by the board. The board's not directing the chair to attend, the land conservation meeting. He basically, and in every meeting that he is the county representative, if he is the chair, such as this committee, there is a delegate vice chair for each committee. He has a vice chair. So, and as far as in county, I mean, we do have, there are meetings in the county that are not county related. AADC is a meeting where Dick is the representative per statute on that committee. And that's just right down the street, of course, but
Yeah.
I don't think you need to, because in this particular sentence, the board is not directing the chairperson to attend committee meetings. So I don't think we need, no offense, I don't think we need to add that to it.
Okay, so if we make 18, just the way we suggested, the chair should attend meetings as directed by the board or may delegate attendance to the vice chair, leave that, and then,
19, the expectation is the chair shall provide a summary of meetings they attended.
right, or delegate. If they didn't attend and they send a delegate, we could expect some kind of a update. Doesn't have to be big.
Yeah.
We already have a 19.
Oh, you're right. Never mind. I didn't go to the next page. So that'd be 20.
Or we can move the other one to 20 and put 19 right after it. So it's all kind of together.
Wouldn't make any difference. It's all part of the same job description for a county board chairperson.
Okay, so is everybody comfortable with that? And then on that item?
Could you repeat that here?
Yeah, 18 would be the chair should attend meetings as directed by the board or may delegate attendance to the vice chair. And 19 or 20, whichever we switch it to. Clark, would you just,
Yeah, basically, I said the chair shall summarize outside meetings attended.
that okay, Mike?
That's fine. Yeah. I'm not sure how much my phone crapped out on me. I had to log back in, so I was kind of on a rant and a rave thing, but I'm not sure how much was heard, but this is good. I'm okay.
Look at the bright side. It didn't get recorded this way.
Okay. So,
Next section is on page 14. And in here it says committees or county supervisors requesting opinions from county corporation council must communicate those requests through the county administrator's office. And the sentence that we had put in there, Dick had wanted in there, this does not apply to the county board chairperson. And the notes that I made from the county board meeting, the board wanted to add language that this would only apply under certain circumstances. And if I remember the discussion correctly from November 10th, it was that the county board chairperson could go to the county corp council. And the only circumstance would be to address performance issues with the county administrator.
yeah, I think that's correct because we don't want anyone, no matter who the chair is, running the court council for anything. Marty?
Yeah, what I was thinking about this after that meeting too, and it seems to me since this committee is the personnel committee and is also the first step in the ethics thing, that there may be occasions where this committee may need to get legal counsel. I think that's a realistic possibility. So maybe we should include this committee. You know, I can't imagine this committee going for some frivolous thing to, as a committee, to legal counsel, I just can't believe that would happen. I think we should have that available.
So you would like to add, this does not apply to the county board chairperson or the executive committee?
Yeah, or, yeah. I
Yeah,
think that's
because Marty could have a point. I don't know how other counties would address it. Say the county board chair and the county board administrator are in cahoots. Who would go to corp counsel then if you didn't have the executive committee or somebody? I don't know.
I was hoping you weren't going to figure us out, but Dick and I have. Now you got us.
Like I say, I don't know what other counties would do in that situation, but say you had a situation where the county board clerk was doing something frivolous or the administrator was aware or whatever. If only those two could go to court counsel, I think you're right. You'd want somebody, whether it's executive or somebody, to be able to at least ask the question. So I don't know how you would.
So if you just added, this does not apply to the county board chairperson or the executive committee?
Yeah, as a committee, yeah.
Well, the issue with the county board was only in circumstances where you're addressing the county administrator's problems. Because otherwise, if I recall correctly, when we adopted our ethics ordinance, obviously this committee hears that, first. And if it's not about the county administrator will coordinate that activity between the committee and the corp counsel. Again, at $200 an hour, we can't have 6 people calling this guy. And so I think the county board just wanted to address, county, somehow put in there that it's only in effect for the county administrator's performance or job concerns or something like that.
Question. The county board chairperson is automatically on the executive committee, correct?
Yes, by statute.
Yeah, and if we put on there, this does not apply to the executive committee and leave the county board chairperson off, because the executive committee, he is on that committee, or that person is on that committee. I know Dick doesn't do it, but if Dick constantly went to the corporation council, because he didn't like Clark or something, or he didn't like me, or, so this way, if it has to come to a committee, he is on the committee. So that should.
Right.
Can you close that door back there? Thank you. I appreciate that. There were a lot of noise out there. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Bill.
So, I'm just saying, if we put in there something that this does not apply, to the executive committee.
Well, how about this? Does not apply to the executive committee when addressing the county administrator's job performance or ethical concerns.
Okay, so it would say, this does not apply to the executive committee when addressing the county administrator's job performance or ethical concerns?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, I think that was kind of the consensus of the county board. And I think that would, and I think that's a very legitimate point, which is, if I start drinking on the job and I stop you from talking to Max, well, your remedy to address it is all of a sudden shunt. So yeah, so you want to be able to have the executive committee address that if I, start misbehaving.
Does that sound good? Mike, is that okay?
Yeah, that sounds okay.
Okay. So it'll say, this does not apply to the executive committee when addressing the county administrator's job performance or ethical concerns.
So what we are doing, we're taking some power away from the county board chairperson.
Right. But the county board chair is on this committee.
Correct, but I'm just saying, he might not be in favor of doing that because, I'm just saying it's not just up to him.
As a committee, you would vote, so let's say you have a problem with me, you're gonna go into closed session. And as a committee, you'll just say, well, so one of you go talk to Max. The committee would decide. It could be the chair. I think it would naturally de facto go to the chair. But, again, it's, you don't know. Maybe, maybe the chair, maybe it's, maybe four of you feel that county administrator is really screwing up and the chairperson, doesn't feel that way. Well, it still leaves you the avenue to address this issue as a committee, because only as you speak as a group with a majority vote, even though maybe you don't agree with stuff. When you get done, in the end of the day, you're a committee that speaks. And in this case, if it's a 3-2 vote, you still have access to the county administrator, to the corp council to address my performance. So I would leave it like that, because that way it leaves it up to a majority vote to address county administrator job performance and ethical concerns.
Okay. And Clark, was there any more on this?
I'm just
Sorry.
scrolling through here.
Article 722, page 22.
Page 22. The notes I had on there says board seemed fine with this section.
Okay.
And so I think that was just the resolutions, and I don't think they had any further comments on that. I think that was addressed. And that's the end of that.
Okay. So any other questions on the handbook review? Bill?
I'll make a motion that we bring it to the county board with these changes.
Okay,
I'll second it.
motion by Bill, seconded by Marty. Mike, any questions?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Chief Deputy position recommendation.
On the 30th of November, we had the Public Property and Law Enforcement Committee, per the ordinance, which is attached in your packet. Did the interviews, spent 3 hours interviewing candidates. And basically, we are recommending, we'd like to seek a motion to recommend to the full county board that Brian Zuebke for the position of Chief Deputy for Ashland County.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Marty. Here's the question. The sheriff is part of this recommendation.
Yep, so basically it's the selection committee is made up of the Public Property and Law Enforcement Committee, the sheriff, and then myself.
Okay.
And this selection committee does the interviews, recommends it to the executive, and then the executive recommends to the full county board. I don't know why the ordinance was written that way, but it's that way, so here you go. So,
Sometime I'll tell you.
okay.
And that's why I asked about the sheriff. It's important to have the sheriff on board with these.
Yep, and he is fully supportive of this decision.
Okay, thank you.
Right now, do we have a chief deputy or no?
Yes, we do. But our chief deputy is retiring after, I don't know, 20 some odd years. Jim Nath is the gentleman's name.
Yep.
And so he's going to be retiring like in January or February. And so this will come into the county board meeting on January 12th. And that will be, that'll be the effective start date.
So the county board appoints the chief deputy then?
I don't know if it's appoints. I'd have to reread the ordinance. I think it's a ratification. I don't know if it's an appointment. I'd have to, it's in the ordinance. Whatever it is, I'll put it in front of the county board. And I'm, I'm sure the issue is this came about because the sheriff used to have an under sheriff, and when the sheriff lost an election, the under sheriff went away, and continuity of government and institutional knowledge. I mean, I get the point of having to have this type of process to remove it from the politics of an election.
Yeah, actually, it says in section 5, the future appointment of the deputy, the chief deputy. It's, the committee selects that person. The appointment will be final upon approval of the executive committee and the full county board of supervisors.
Laura?
Just to let you guys know too, we did a really good talk over all the candidates, and it was a unanimous decision on Brian. He's very well set for this.
Good, thank you. So we have a motion and a second to approve. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion carried. Good. Time off for staff in 2021.
Okay, so this is a recommendation. Since we basically going into 2021, we have not built any wage increases in for the staff. What the recommendation that we've been handed is we would move to add an additional 40 hours of personal time off bank for full-time Aspen County staff and prorate part-time employees for the year 2021 only, not including union staff or elected officers. And this came as a recommendation from the county board, basically. And it wasn't formally adopted because they wanted to go through through the executive committee. And in my write-up there, I basically just talk about, we basically currently give staff 30 hours of personal leave for employees to utilize, which is outside of their vacation or sick time. This leave is granted each January 1st and expires on December 31st. If employees don't use their personal hours, they can be rolled into a sick time bank up to a maximum of 240 hours. We would grant an additional 40 hours to each full-time employee personal time bank at the beginning of the year for a total of 70 hours. So basically, we would keep the 30 that they're already getting. This would be an additional 40 that would be granted to them in lieu of a pay increase. Part-time people would be prorated. With that, I would seek that motion, move to add an additional 40 hours personal time bank for full-time employee staff and prorate part-time employees for the year 2021 only, not including union staff and elected officers.
Also move. Motion by Marty. Is there a second?
I'll second that with a point of clarification. The point of clarification being they're getting an additional 40 hours or 10 hours? Because currently they get 30 hours, right?
Yeah, so this says in the write-up there, Mike, it does say we currently grant 30 hours of personal leave to employees to utilize outside of their vacation. So we're basically going to be granting them an additional 40 hours. And so they'll have a total of 70 hours granted them on January 1st.
Gary?
I got it. Well, I can see, well, even though the county board has made this recommendation, there's going to be some county board discussion on this, obviously. So I'll call for the question.
Okay, and you did second it, Mike?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Bill.
Okay, I think that the county employees deserve some type of compensation through working through COVID. I checked with the city of Ashland, and the city of Ashland gave a 2% raise, or going to give a 2% raise to their workers effective January 1st, 2021. I just wonder, this is a one-time shot, so next year they won't have 70 hours, or will they? What's the status on that? Is this just for 2021, jumping from 30 to 70 hours?
That's correct. So if you look in the bottom of that memo, it says for the year 2021 only.
Okay,
And so then then 2022, the expectation is you go back to your normal 30 hours the expectation is that there'll be a budgeted raise to those employees for 2022.
And I guess another question, the date of employment, that you have to be employed by the Ashland County as of January 1st, 2021. So if they hire somebody in mid-January, they don't get this. You know, I think if you were employed, I think something should be put in there if they were employed by Ashland County as of January 1st, 2021, so that if you don't hire somebody during the middle of the year or whatever, that, you know, I think we should clarify that. And if you retire, is it prorated then, is my understanding? So I know some people, I know there's a person that's going to retire in April, and are they going to get that 40 hours? They actually worked, you know, they were working through the COVID. And so this is kind of like a bonus, you know, instead of giving them a raise. You know, if they retire in April, are you going to prorate that 70 hours or that 40 hours, or, you know, what's going on with that? So those were kind of some of my concerns. I guess the thing is, when are we going to, you know, I would like to have something added in there that they were working for Ashland County prior to January 1st, 2021. And because, you know, that's my concern.
I think the policy, and Lori, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have the HR manual up here, but if you start mid-year for your 30 hours, you're just prorated based on that. So if you start halfway through, you'd get 15 hours. If you,
Correct.
I started September 3rd, and I got, I don't know, 7 hours or something like that in 2019 when I started. So this is the equivalent of, you got to look at it more not as a COVID for the work that was done. This is in lieu of a pay increase during the year of 2021.
That is correct.
yeah.
But I think Bill's question is, it's for the people that are already have been working here and not starting a new position in 2021. Is that correct, Bill?
Right. I can't see giving this time off or this 40 hours to somebody that gets hired in like May, even if it's prorated, you know?
But
Yeah, their 30 hours would be prorated if they started in 2021.
What I'm saying is the 30 hours would be prorated, but I don't feel that the 40 hours should be prorated.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
I understand it, Bill, but they're not going to get a raise in 21 either. So if they get hired in June and we allow them to get,
Gary, you need to go closer to the mic, please.
I'm sorry, I'm saying if we hire someone in June of 2021, why wouldn't we prorate the additional hours? They're not going to get a raise in 2021.
But they just were hired under their new salary.
It's part of the compensation. Think of it like a compensation package. When you agree to come on, part of when people evaluate working for a county organization or any organization, you know, we're looking at, you know, what is your health care? What is your time off? What is your vacation? What is your flexibility? All those things that convinces people to work for the county. I view this as basically just part of the benefit package. You know, and I mean, I would, you know, from an HR standpoint, it'd be easier for us just to say, we're just going to prorate, you know, the effective personal time off for county staff is 70 hours for 2021. And it'll just be prorated for people that start halfway through the year or whenever they start. Because that's what we currently do anyway. It's part of the compensation package.
Okay. So the way it's stated currently, you would have that understanding there. Laura, go ahead.
I just wondered how many people this affects and what is the cost that we're going to have to pay, because it's not just like we don't pay where this is off. So as we just approved a budget, is each, I mean, it's still gonna cost us something for next year. So where are we pulling this money from?
Well, I don't know where it would cost money. Basically, you're covering services. I suppose if you're look at correctional officers, it doesn't affect union staff. So there's the people who are correctional officers, if they take a day off for personal time, somebody has to fill that slot. The question is that person going to have to be overtime? And I don't know that answer. But if I take a day off, it doesn't cost the county anything. If Lori takes a week off, it doesn't cost the county anything more than her current budgeted salary. In the macro sense, if somebody were to leave halfway through the year, yeah, that, you know, we don't have an estimate on that level of detail on this.
Yeah, we could see we had an employee use up to all 70 hours by June. And they leave in July. We would still maintain their last paycheck. You could say you only get paid fully on what you work, if that was a concern. You know, I'm working for the county in June. I used up all 70 of my personal time and leave in July. The county should have some option to keep that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they only give us our hours quarterly. You only get so many of them per quarter to avoid those situations.
Good, thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
If a person does not use their personal time, which is 70 hours, if we pass this, and they retired, let's say in November or December, and they haven't used their personal time, will they get it paid out? Will they get the 70 hours paid out?
Lori?
Yes, unless well, if they're going to collect on their sick bank, but yes, they would get paid out.
And they would collect basically on their unused vacation, and their unused sick time too.
Correct.
If they're old enough. If I was 40 years old, I wouldn't get paid out for my sick time if I left the county.
Okay, yeah, sick time is only paid out
Right.
if you move immediately into the WRF
Right.
annuitant status.
So, you know, we're talking about not having any increase in our budget as far as expenses. Well, this would definitely be an increase. You know, I don't know how much, I don't know how many people it would affect. You know, I don't know, but I'm just saying if you're looking, if you want to tie it down so that you have to use the day so you don't get paid out during the year when you're working.
The thing is, you anticipate multiple people retiring.
There's people retiring all the time.
Yeah.
And you can retire at 55.
Well, if someone retires to get 3 extra days of personal time, good for them. I know what you're saying.
Gary, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm sorry, I was making a snide comment. But the motion that is recommended is to add the additional 40 hours to personal time off bank for full-time Madison County staff and prorate part-time employees for 2021 only, not including union staff and elected officers. My question is, on that particular motion without any changes, is there a motion to approve that?
You may want to consider that 40 hours going into somebody's sick time bank also, because it would be there permanently then.
So are you saying consider it as a separate tracking for payroll? Basically, just say this 40 hours doesn't get rolled into sick time at the end of the year if it's not used?
I would say you either use it or lose it.
Yeah, we've not gone through the level of what, you know, and Bill, you are correct. There would be some unknown factor which we can't quantify, which is if somebody doesn't if somebody does retire and they have these hours and it's rolled into their payout, they would get an extra few days of pay. And we can't quantify that because it's hard. We don't know how many people are going to retire. I mean, we some people we know, but a lot of people we don't. We don't know when they're going to quit, you know.
And it could also lead to the county paying more insurance. Because if they had 3 or 4 days and it added it on, it could take you into another month. And then as a result of that, the county would have to pay their insurance for that month, even if they work 1 day. You know, that's a possibility. You're saying 3 or 4 days, but if you rolled it over, if you were allowed to roll it over, you know, I just think that the county board, if we got so many loopholes in there, they're not going to pass it.
Well, if that current motion, the way it is, if we added the sentence at the end that Clark up on top says that if employees don't use their personal hours, they can be rolled into a sick bank. If we take that and change that into the motion and say any hours not used of this 40 in 2021 are not rolled into the sick bank. They disappear. Correct. Then they couldn't roll them over. Is that acceptable? Well, here's the only way to really get to the discussion, which we kind of had beforehand. But if the motion is to move to add an additional 40 hours to personal time off bank for full-time Ashland County staff and prorate part-time employee for the year 2021 only, not including union staff and elected officers, and this additional time will not be rolled into the sick bank, I would make that motion. Is there a second?
Point of clarification, don't you guys already have a motion on the table?
Well, I just made
Yes, we
this.
do.
What was that, Mike? Go ahead.
Yes, we do have a motion on the table. Matter of fact, I seconded it, but that motion's been so clouded at this point, I'm not exactly sure where we're at with that.
Yeah, and we kind of forgot that we had a motion and a second. So,
Okay.
so for the original motion, we have a motion and a second. Who did the original motion?
Marty Vitek and Mike Berlin was the second.
Okay. So at this point, Marty, would you take a friendly amendment to your motion to read any hours not used in 21 are not rolled into the sick bank? Would you accept that as a friendly amendment to your motion?
I cannot hear him.
Marty said yes.
Thank you.
Move the mic right next to your face. There you are. Pretend you're a rock star.
No, it's really not any better. It sounds like you have a blender going in that microphone.
Yes.
Okay, so, but Marty did say yes to the friendly amendment.
Thank
And if-
you.
If Mike seconded it, Mike, are you okay with that?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Thanks, Mike.
How about this one, Lori? Is this one working?
Yep, that was better.
Okay.
Good, thank you. Okay, so we have to rule on the motion as changed.
Yeah, so the motion would be as presented there on the page of paper, and with the additional sentence, any hours not used in 21 are not rolled into sick bank.
Okay. Does everybody have that motion now?
We got questions.
Bill?
Yeah, I guess I don't have a problem with it getting rolled into the sick bank. I think that's a good thing because there might be certain offices where it's just not workable to go ahead and take the time off. I see that as a good point, because if some offices is really busy, rather than cause a hardship and those people lose it, I'd rather see it go into the sick bank. I'm more concerned about if they retire or something, that they get paid out for it, or that they can carry it over and use it when they retire. You know, that's what more is my concern. I would rather see it go into the sick bank, because you only can accumulate so many hours, like 240, I think it is.
That's correct.
Yeah, so rather than the employee just lose it, I would rather see it, I like that part going into the sick bank. You know, and if they retire, then that's fine. But that would prevent somebody like that's maybe, you know, less than 55 and it's not going to retire, you know, they would just be losing it.
Well, it's kind of a two-way street, because you put it in the sick bank, we're gonna pay it out.
Possibility.
Well, so, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor with those changes. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I,
Oppose?
Aye.
Gloria was 3-1, motion carried. And the county board gets a stab at this anyways.
I have a point of clarification. Because this affects the budgets, does this have to go to finance first?
I don't know how you're gonna address, I'm not sure how you would address the finance. I mean, how would you know who's going to retire and get a payout?
I'm not worried about the payout, but we'd put forth a budget, and then there's this, and I know there's, somehow we have to pay this out. So it just, and not that I don't want everybody to have that raise per se, whether direct or indirectly, but it does affect the budget, and somewhere we have to find the money for it. And we had already secured our budget for this next year. So it was just
The Finance Committee is going to meet on the 17th of December. They could certainly discuss it, but I have nothing to bring to them. I
okay.
mean, I don't have any dollar amount. I don't have anything to say. I can't say it's going to be this amount or you're going to do from here. It's an unknown factor. It's kind of like our healthcare fund. You know, it's like we guess, we take a guess at how much healthcare we're using, but when we use more, well, we use more. We just don't stop paying the bills on the healthcare fund. We go into debt is what we've done. And that's where that now $1.3 or $4 million debt has come from.
Okay, just asking.
No, we can add, we can add it to that finance agenda, but I really have no, I don't have any money. I don't have anything to tell you.
Okay, no, that's kind of what I wanted to know, so.
Thanks, Laura. Okay. Vacation carryover for over policy.
Yeah, so in between these two items, time off for staff for 2021 and vacation carryover policy. The vacation carryover policy is something that was instituted and approved by this committee in the early part of the pandemic. And that basically, during the emergency declaration, which was ratified by the county board, we allowed employees to carry up to 5 days of vacation for 90 days past our anniversary date due to not being able to take time off. The pandemic is still among us, and we are recommending that we extend this temporary policy till July 1st. And so that's the first part of this. The second part of this, which we hadn't thought about till I had a department head meeting last week on Thursday, and the staff feel it's important to also extend our continuation of emergency paid sick leave. And so this was part of the FFCRA, the Family First Corona Response Act, which was passed by Congress. And this dictated both for private and public sector employees that every employee has 10 days of allotted time to basically isolate and quarantine. We're basically trying to incentivize people, if they are sick with the coronavirus, not to come to work, and the federal government put that in place for everybody. That act, the Extended Paid Sick Leave Act, expires on the federal government on the 31st of December. As you know, they are currently debating, and they might be passing this week, another bill. And we are monitoring that closely. If they do, this would just be extended by the federal government. Sans that, we are recommending that we just continue the policy that the county have already established until July 1st, or until it's superseded by the new federal mandate, if any. And again, we're just trying to incentivize people that need to be isolated not to come to work, so that we don't end up with that. Now, this time, as I'll reiterate from our previous policy, which was adopted, this does not add to anything. People don't get paid out for it. It doesn't add to any sick leave. It's just there as a bank for people to use only with a COVID isolation issue.
Okay, so Clark, so are you recommending if we make a motion to do the motion for the carryover on vacation
Yep.
and the extension?
Yep, so what I'm doing here is in the motion, move to allow Ashland County employees to carry up to 5 vacation days for 90 days past their anniversary date, and continue emergency sick leave policy from the FFCRA till July 1st, 2021. And so both those guidance documents or policies would be effective till July 1st, 2021.
Okay, is there a motion?
Gary, I will make that motion for adoption.
Motion by Bill, second. Second by Marty. Questions? Hearing the motion, everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you.
Okay. Now, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not making, I think this will just go into effect. And this is how we did it before by the executive committee. By your acting as a personnel committee, you basically set the personnel rules. This is just a temporary policy. We didn't go to the full county board with temporary HR issues with this. So I think this will just, in my mind, this is enough of a legislative oversight and approval that we could just institute this policy, which is what we did before.
Okay, Fair Maps referendum resolution.
Okay, so this is brought to us by the League of Women Voters, and this is a resolution which would call for a referendum on the April 2021 election regarding the fair mapping for redistricting in the state of Wisconsin. If this were to pass the executive committee, the full board would review on January 12th, 2021. So this packet, you can go through and read this packet, and and what it is basically every 10 years when we have the census, we go through and we redistrict. So in this case, on a micro level scale, you're going to see Ashland County redistrict your 21 districts for your 21 supervisors. This would be a chance for you guys to change if you wanted to go down to 19 or 15 or whatever it is, but we're going to reallocate the districts within the county. Because this county doesn't really change populations too much, as far as population levels, you're probably not going to see a great change. This fair mapping initiative is basically encouraging the legislators to adopt a nonpartisan, non-gerrymandering district for congressional districts in the state. So your state house, your state senate, your U.S. representatives, and this basically, they're basically just looking, Bayfield just passed this, the citizens of Bayfield just passed this in November at the November election, and they're slowly going through the state, trying to get every county to sign off on this, to basically suggest to the legislators that they adopt this as a law. So there isn't any cost to the county. It's basically you as a county saying, we support this and we recommend that the citizens support this. And you would basically put it on the referendum. The process for this is county board would need to pass this language on January 12th, submit it to the county clerk, and that language has to be ready for the referendum 70 days before the April 6th election. 70 days before April 6th is like the 23rd of January. So in this case, if the county board passed this resolution, then that language would be submitted to the clerk. She would certify it and would go on the ballot on the April 6th election for citizens to vote on it. With that, I'll take questions. Bill?
Does this have anything, does this have anything to do with the county board or no? Or the city council? This is more statewide?
This is statewide, yes.
Statewide?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you get to the, down to the county level, you basically just make your own decisions at that, because it's the issue is when you see this happen all over the nation, and this is a nationwide effort, you see, you know, if a Republican group controls the House and the Senate within a state, they basically make the district safe for them, gerrymandering. And instead of having these meandering districts, this initiative would have a nonpartisan group that would just put together, and they'd be more rectangles or blocks. So it wouldn't respond to demographics and age and partisan leanings. It would be just what it's called fair mapping.
I would make a motion that we be in favor of this and take it to the county board.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Bill, seconded by Marty. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor of approving the Fair Maps referendum resolution and forwarding it to the county board, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Gary,
Yes.
when is the county board, or are they going to be in discussion to limit or change the number of representatives on the county board? Are we going to be doing that sometime, or when is that going to be done? Are we going to keep the 21? When is that going to be discussed?
Yeah, so you basically, once we get the census data back, and if you've been watching the national news, they're trying to get that certification. There's some court cases that are going in front of the Supreme Court actually concerning, do you count people who are not citizens, or do you count just citizens? In those cases, you have to be decided. Once that data starts being disseminated in the spring of 21, that's when we'll have the discussion concerning, do we want to go down to a different number? And because what will happen is your first decision will be that. And then after that, you'll be given maps that will dictate what that number is. If it's at 21, we just jerry-rig the map to fit the populations. The whole point of this is to try to make sure that each one of you, 21 board supervisors, is representing roughly the same amount of people. You know, and right now, each one of you represents around 750 people. And so if we went to a different number, you might represent 1,200 people, you know, or whatever. So those decisions will be coming up in the spring of 21.
Thank you. Okay. Closed session we need?
Yes.
Okay. We'll need a motion to go into closed session. Motion by Marty. Is there a second?
Well, second.
Second
Mike.
by Mike.
Mike,
Roll-
yep.
Okay, roll call vote.
Gary Mertig,
Yes.
Bill Metzinger,
Yes.
Mike Berlin,
Yes.
Marty Vitek.
Yes.
Okay, being that we're in close, do Lori or Clark, do we have any audience
Yep,
participation?
I'm going to put them in the waiting room right now.
So we're gonna stop recording.
Okay.
And then, as soon as you stop recording,
Okay, we are now recording.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion to approve a 2020 one-time increase to the public health officer.
I will so make that motion.
Motion by Bill,
I'll second it.
second by Marty. Any questions? Roll call? I think I think we'll do a roll call just on a financial question like this.
Mike Berlin,
Yes.
Gary Bertig,
Yes.
Bill Mensinger,
Yes.
Marty Vitek.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Administrator updates?
yeah, so there's a couple issues which I think, I would like, if you can, I'd like for you to attend the finance meeting on the 17th. There's some crossover issues between finance and personnel that we're gonna be dealing with. One of the big ones will be healthcare. And acting as a personnel committee, you'll be weighing in on this, but it's more of a fiscal issue. As you're well aware, our healthcare fund has run up a $1.1 million debt over the last 6 years, and it looks like we'll end up this year maybe another couple hundred or 250 in the hole also. So we're going to be looking at close to $1.4 million in the healthcare fund. So obviously it's unsustainable. We need to stop that. Some of the issues we'll be discussing, I've been talking with the state of Wisconsin concerning the state plan. The state plan is available for counties, cities, towns, and state employees, UW employees. And they have like maybe 250,000 WRS members and then adding family members onto that. So they're a very large group. And we could join them. It might mean some temporary financial hardships because no matter what we do, it's going to cost us more money. If we go with a private insurance or the state plan or a private insurance, it's going to cost more. If we stay with a self-insured plan, I talked to them yesterday extensively, we're going to have to put in more money there because obviously we're not putting enough money into it. And so either case, we have been, I think the budget has been, you've been underestimating expenses in order to balance the budget. And so we're gonna put a stop to that. And with that, that's also going to affect from the personnel committee, how do we pay for raises for staff for 2022? And then another issue in the finance committee will be, we're gonna be paying for this by putting a referendum in front of the citizens in April. So we're going to be, if the finance committee supports a referendum, the county board would do the same thing as the fair map that you just saw. And they would, if they supported a referendum in January, the citizens would vote on it in April. So it'd be the same timeline. And if that didn't get approved by the citizens, there has to be some sort of contingency plans because you're a few $100,000 out of whack on healthcare, $100,000 out of whack on wages for 1 year. Highway department got $200,000 cut from it from the capital. In addition, we have $250,000 to balance the budget we're taking out of the bank. So right there, you're way over $600,000 misalignment of what needs to happen with the county. So I would encourage the executive committee, because of the overlap on the HR issues, to attend that meeting so you're more informed and can provide input to the finance committee from a personnel policy perspective. And I don't have anything else besides that.
Okay. Any other issues other than next meeting date? Will we need a meeting in January? Clark?
County board will be on the 12th. I'm just writing that on our calendar here. And right now, I don't have anything in line. We could temporarily put in something for the 19th as a holding date.
Okay.
Lori, is there anything on that county board calendar online? If you can check your Outlook calendar, if you want to hang on a second here. Can you see that, Lori, or because you're recording? You
No,
can't?
I cannot get to it.
Okay, that's fine, yes, because she's recording, so it might script the computer. We'll just tentatively put it down on the 19th, and I'll be in communication with you as we develop agendas going forward after that.
Okay. So if no other business, we need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Marty, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Bill. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna quit recording here in a second here, so hang on a second. Can you stop the recording?
I'm trying. Something
Okay.
happened to it. I think you might have to stop it on your end.
Sounds good. I'll just close the meeting.